Okay, here's part 2. Some more technical features. The engine valves, according to the manual, have to be adjusted every 2500 miles. To adjust them, all you have to do is get to the valve cover, take it off, and you can adjust them just using the screwdriver and a small wrench or pliers. So in other words, it is very easy, and most people find that in 5 or even 10,000 miles they don't really need adjustment. The Honda just recommends them being checked every 2500 miles. I bought mine new and at 2800, or actually 3800. When I first time checked the clearance, it was still within specs, so it did not need any adjustment. The battery, 7 ampere hours. It's located behind this plastic cover, and unfortunately battery is the only way to start the engine through the electrical starter. There is no manual kickstarter, unfortunately. So that means if you are stuck in the middle of nowhere with that battery, you're kind of out of luck. You might have to get it jump started, or who knows. Let's see what else. Technical features. It holds approximately 0.6 to 0.8 quarts of coolant. I've replaced it already, and it's recommended to be replaced, I think, about every 2 years. It holds 0.7 quart of oil. It doesn't have a filter. It has a typical Honda screen, which you could clean. You're supposed to clean it every 5,000 miles, I believe. And the drain plug. Well, here's this oil screen, and the drain plug is on this side. It's right here, 17 millimeters. As I said, it has drum brakes in the back, and like for example, this one has 6,500 miles. This is how the rear tire looks. It's getting to be bold, but I'm gonna ride for a few, maybe another 1,000. I already have a new one. You can get them from Amazon, $30. And that's the front tire. That's the one that's rare. It doesn't have a side stand. It does have a space for it right here, and some markets have it from the factory. You can take that rubber piece off and, I guess, bolt your custom side stand, or the one maybe you brought from other countries. But I actually just came back from Spain, and when I looked at these scooters there, they didn't have side stand. They're called lead 110 in Europe, but I know in Japan they're definitely available, and I think they're equipped from the factory. The air filters behind this box, they are $20 to $26 here in the US. I bought one for 10 euros in Italy. Let me show you this compartment now. As I said, that's my disc lock, and that's my first aid kit, scissors, and that's the jump starter cable and charger cable, etc. This is a little motorcycle cable that's connected to the battery, so I can use it to power the GPS or charge the phone or charge the battery itself. There are a couple of nice features with this plug, but I'm sure many people have reviewed already. It's a pretty typical thing. Little extra security here. I'm not gonna waste time on it. The gas tank holds 1.6 gallons, and I'm averaging probably 90 miles per gallon. The best I've gotten was 105. The worst in the mid-70s. The worst occurred when I rode with a passenger with about 60-70 pounds of gear on a cross-country tour uphill at maximum speed in 100 degrees temperature. That's when the gas mileage dropped significantly. But when you're riding by yourself at 35-40, that's when it's at most fuel efficient mode. The overseas models have turn signals integrated into this assembly. Of course, the US market is known for separate turn signals on many models. Same thing here, whereas the European ones have turn signals in this front cover. I put some white tape over it just to make it a little more visible. I'm going to cover more panels here with white. I don't really care how it looks cosmetically. I know it becomes more visible from the distance. So that is objective information. Now in terms of subjective, I upgraded from Honda Metropolitan 50cc, so it is definitely a major improvement in performance. I can go up many more hills with this thing in a much better way, faster, and it cruises at 45, 48, 49 miles per hour all day long. I've ridden this scooter from LA to past Yosemite, Sonora Pass, and I rode that way, which is about 350 miles in one day. It's a long day of riding, but it's doable. I'm really impressed, and I still really enjoy the large under-seat compartment. I mean, you can carry gas here, tools, water when I go on the desert runs. This is my little collapsible shovel to straighten the ground for the tent while camping. This is the covers the coolant level, as I mentioned before. The parts are available for it, but it's not the easiest to find. At least most motorcycle stores don't stock anything for this scooter. It was only sold in the US for 1 year in 2010. I'm not sure why. But you can still buy everything online. cheapbikeparts.com and sites like that. Bike Bandit or something. Here is the, by the way, the drain, the fill and the drain bolts for your final drive oil. It holds very little, 1/10 of a quart. Spark plug needs to be replaced every 7,500 miles, and it is $5 to $7 on Amazon. Brake pads, I know, are $20, and they last up to 20,000 miles. Depends how you ride, but I suspect I'll never have to replace mine. I barely brake. So it is Chinese made Honda, and I guess the reliability has been shown to be pretty good. There are no major issues. One little problem that Da Vinci is a user, is a guy known to ride scooters, motorcycles online in different forms. He rode to Alaska on a small Simba 100cc or 110. Anyway, Da Vinci is the one who discovered that the scooter has a little bit of a trick, a little issue that if not taken care of can cause you have some electrical problems, check engine light, etc. There's a one metal hook that, the way that it is designed, it accidentally rubs the wire that powers your ECU computer, and you just need to get to it and bend it. Very easy thing to do. Just take the seat off and you'll see it. Maybe watch the videos about it. You can search YouTube, maybe I'll include the link. So to take the seat off, you just basically take 2, 3, 4 screws, bolts, and lift the whole thing out. And all you have to do about that screw is just bend it. He's the one who discovered it on his scooter, and when I looked at mine at 2800 miles, sure enough, the metal hook was about to break through the insulation of that wire. So I noticed mine soon enough before it had any damage to that wire. The speedometer on this scooter is very accurate. I mean, maybe sometimes half a mile difference, and I see that I can compare it with GPS or those street speed signs. The gas tank, unfortunately, is not really that big. In 100 miles, for some reason my gauge shows to be on empty already. And I know it can still go another 50 miles, but I don't like that, and I usually fill it up. So essentially that makes it feel like it has a very short range. I'm not sure if it's my gauge that's miscalibrated or it's just how it is. And the scooter is dirty right now, and I have some tape over this rack, so that's why it looks kind of ugly. But I've only purchased this scooter in May, so it's been barely 5 months. The weight is 258 pounds, so it's slightly heavier than Metropolitan. Now, in terms of competitors, for me, as I only considered Honda scooters, the main competitor was Honda PCX 125, but right now they also have 150 for sale for slightly more, but you can find a used one for about 3,000. This one was 2,600 new. I bought it in Tennessee and rode it back to Los Angeles. The reason I got this over the PCX mainly is because of the storage. It's significantly larger, and it is lighter. Oh, I take it back. This one actually is rated at 200, I believe 19. It's the PCX, that's 250 something, 257. So I like lighter scooters. The kind of riding I do, that's an advantage. I take them on trails and sand, and sometimes I have to carry the scooter kind of out. That helps. The PCXs are made in Thailand versus China for the Elite. So they're both Hondas. and both of them have been fine in terms of reliability. Now there definitely are quite a few competitors out there in this class, from Kimco and Piaggio, obviously. There's Yamaha Vino 125, and I don't know too much about those scooters, but supposedly they're just as reliable. Now again, this one has 6,500 miles on the odometer right now, and there were few people who have put over 20,000 on it without any issues. The Da Vinci is a guy from San Francisco, namely he is the one who has 20,000 on his right now. I think that the engine is capable of going to 50,000 given adequate maintenance, oil changes, valve adjustments, and careful driving. In terms of service frequencies, the oil change is called for every 5,000 miles according to the manufacturer. I personally change it every 2,000 approximately, depends on the conditions. If I ride in the desert in the sand, it might be a little sooner. If it's just asphalt highway, I could go to 2,500. Air filter, I replaced mine at 6,500 just yesterday, first time. But again, that depends on your type of riding. Spark plug needs to be changed every 7,500. Few dollars. Tires. The rear one, I guess, commonly lasts about 5,000 miles. At 65, mine is close to being bald, but I think it can make it another 1,000 or two before I replace it. They are pretty inexpensive. Amazon has a Pirelli SL26 tire for $30. That's the one I bought. I'm going to be using. I like that tire. I've used it on a Metropolitan. And you can buy Michelin for a little more, which I think is a little bit softer tire, but it's kind of subjective. Belt is approximately $30–40, depends where you buy it, and it needs to be replaced. I'd say around 15,000 miles if you want to, if you're willing to accept reduced speed. It could probably last to 20,000 before you run the risk with braking or reducing your speed beyond acceptable. My Metropolitan belt lasted 15,000 miles, and when I took it out, it barely looked any thinner than the original, and was still just about within spec. I think a little lower, I don't remember. So, given the pretty good gas mileage, very little oil capacity, the scooter is very inexpensive to maintain, and you can buy them for $1,500 online with very little miles. I guess I can recommend it overall. It's definitely capable for around town duties, and if you are not in a hurry, you can go on the highway. You can carry a passenger fairly comfortable. It has a pretty good shock for two people. Front shocks are also very decent. Front brake is pretty strong too. You can lock up the wheel and flip your whole scooter if you wanted to, and it can slow you down securely, safely. Rack is definitely an advantage, and this glove compartment is pretty cool to have. So, given that it's fuel injected, it starts up very easily. Has a throttle body, by the way, which is one major part of the scooter that's labeled to prevent theft, etc. It's, I guess, one of the most expensive parts in it. And given that it's liquid cooled, it can run well in extreme heat, as well as being loaded without fearing of overheating or damaging the engine. Not to say that air-cooled engines are not capable of all of those kinds of riding, but there are some good reasons why engines have liquid cooling. And that probably concludes my long review. I'm not gonna start it up right now because I won't probably ride it until next weekend for 5 days, and I don't want to leave the battery in less than full charge state. But I assure you, it starts right up, and it sounds really quiet, and the engine is very smooth. That's, by the way, another major advantage of this particular engine, is that it's smooth, buttery. You don't feel any vibration when you're running, and when it's idling, it's a pleasant, small little vibration. Okay, if any questions, feel free to comment below. And it was my pleasure to review this on the scooter.